Hey guys, welcome to the Elden Ring Arsenal. This is a new thing that I'm trying, meant as an in-depth look at weapon stats and builds that would go good with each weapon. Um, yeah, today we are looking at the Cinquedea. This is a strength-based dagger that I thought was interesting, though, so I decided to give it a shot and was overall pleasantly surprised. This is the build that I used it on, and I just kind of messed around in duels. The attacks that I think have the most potential on this weapon are definitely this backstep attack, which I never really got an opportunity to pull off, and I think is mostly a skill issue. That and this crouching attack, they both come out really fast and seem to do decent poise damage. The L1, of course, is good, just because of how many slashes come out. It's really fast. The Ash of War that you get on this weapon is Quick Step, which is by no means a bad Ash of War, but it doesn't benefit from things like Shard of Alexander, and because this is a Somber Smithing Stone weapon, you can't change that. You're just stuck with Quick Step, which also means that you can't infuse this weapon. So putting it on builds is pretty straightforward. It just excels with strength. You don't really have other options because you can't infuse it or change the scaling or anything. Quick Step, however, is handy for pulling off some cheeky backstabs every now and then. You can get some pretty cool plays from that. But that's about the extent of it. There's not much to say in regards to that Ash of War. Some talismans that I'd recommend using are Millicent's Prosthesis and the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia. These both increase damage with successive attacks, which is really helpful when you're relying on doing tiny amounts of damage in some cases. On my build, I was using Millicent's Prosthesis because it allows me to use some other dex weapons that I wouldn't be able to otherwise, like a lot of great bows. But anything that increases damage with successive attacks. So I think there's even a regular winged and sword insignia that you can get that will help. I found it really valuable to stack poise. I think that's pretty much normal for every build at this point, but especially for these weapons, the higher the poise, the better, because I found myself going for trades a lot. If my opponent had less poise than me, then it was very easy for me to get them into a stagger chain and really do a lot of damage. One of the cons I would say that this weapon has is that it consumes a fair amount of stamina with each L1, and that's going to be your main attack. So in my physic for this, I liked using the stamina regen tier. Seemed to help me out a lot. Something else that might be worth considering maybe for invasions is the physic that increases poise, although it only does it for 10 seconds. It could definitely offer you some help in some tight encounters in 2 or 3v1s. Overall, this weapon was a ton of fun to use. It's really kind of hard to be successful with, but I think that's pretty much any dagger given their short range and their low poise damage. I was pleasantly surprised by the poise damage on these weapons, honestly. It's just more than I thought it would be for daggers. I was able to stagger people after 1 or 2 L1s, which even opponents that had pretty high poise, they were getting staggered, and that's just not what the results that you expect from a dagger. Overall, if we compare the AR to something like the Knight's Greatsword, it doesn't look like it can keep up with damage. One-handed, we get 412 AR on the Cinquedeas. The Knight's Greatsword, for example, we would get 591, and that's a pretty dramatic increase. However, with the rate that the attacks come out on this weapon, that doesn't matter. As long as you can land an L1, you'll be doing comparable damage. And as I found, landing the L1s or the sprinting L1s, it wasn't that hard. I would definitely recommend people give this weapon a shot. It was a ton of fun. Before I head out, there were a couple of things I wanted to mention. When I came up with the name for this series, I decided to go on YouTube to see if there was anybody who had a similar idea. When I looked up the Elden Ring Arsenal, most of what came up, unsurprisingly, was the Great Jar's Arsenal. But there was one French YouTuber called Revodricks. I'm probably slaughtering that. But he had a video series with the same title that covered similar stuff, just more PvE focused. I highly recommend you go check him out. His content is really good. I don't even speak French, and I enjoyed watching it. Yeah. On top of that, if you want to see some great invasion content using these weapons, you should check out YellowTree. I'll link his video here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like, maybe subscribe, maybe comment. Who knows? Who knows what might happen? Thank you so much for watching.